Hi, we're continuing our weekly updates from Washington. Very important week in Washington for America as the new jobless numbers came out, and once again we see unemployment rising in the United States. As the chart that we have here demonstrates, we have had the longest sustained unemployment rate since World War II. It is now taking up to 86% more time for people to be able to get jobs under this current administration's policies. 40 weeks or better for people to be able to seek employment. As I've traveled throughout the 3rd Congressional District, we continue to hear families that are worried about their future, families that are draining their savings accounts, worrying about what's going to be happening next. And the uncertainty that we're seeing out of Washington is a lot of this cause. One of the big challenges that we currently have is to be able to get Americans back to work. Going through and visiting with businesses throughout our district, we discovered that red tape and uncertainty is inhibiting our small businesses from being able to create jobs, to be able to fill those blank streets on Main Street with new prosperous businesses and giving people the opportunity to be able to live that American dream. We've seen red tape expand exponentially under this administration, a 52% increase in the average number of economically significant compliant regulations that are now required by Washington. These are costs that are incurred by small businesses, businesses that are already struggling to be able to survive. They want to be able to focus on that business rather than more government red tape. Now, we all know there needs to be some regulation, but we've obviously seen that out of Washington, it is simply out of hand. It is hurting American job prospects and our ability to truly be able to get this economy to move. As our next chart will show, we're seeing that small businesses face additional regulatory costs as well. It is costing $10,585 per employee for small businesses just to be able to comply with regulations that are coming out of Washington. We need to bring common sense back to this process, to understand that businesses need to be able to have the freedom to be able to focus on what they need to do to be able to create profits, to be able to employ folks, to be able to give raises so that we can be able to provide for our families. So Washington needs to get out of the way to let American industry start once again. One of the areas that we can certainly create jobs in the 3rd Congressional District and in the state of Colorado is with an all-of-the-above energy policy. As many of you are well aware, I recently passed through the House of Representatives a bill that would allow us to be able to create as much energy as the Glen Canyon Dam with hydroelectric power by simply stripping away some of the regulations that we spoke about a minute ago. We also have an opportunity to be able to develop responsibly the abundant natural resources which we have in our state, to be able to get people back to work. As I go through our communities, I continue to talk to people who have literally dirt under their fingernails, that care about our environment, clean water, clean air, and also providing for their families. We can create a win-win situation, but we have to be able to look out for America's interests and to be able to provide affordable energy for our country. Because as we see our electric bills go up, as we all pay the price at the gas pump, which is stripping more dollars away from what we're able to use to be able to provide for our families, we see that it is time now for America to develop an all-of-the-above energy strategy. By the end of this month, in June, I will have the bill coming before the full House of Representatives, Planning for America's Energy Future, the Act of 2012. That's going to require the Secretary of Interior to take into consideration America's energy needs and an all-of-the-above policy, just like my hydroelectric bill, to be able to achieve those goals so that we have sustainable, affordable energy that's created right here in the United States, rather than taking dollars out of our wallets to frankly send to some people who may not care for us an awful lot. Let's create jobs on American soil, putting Americans back to work using American resources. One of those opportunities is certainly going to be the Keystone Pipeline, which is a shovel-ready job, to be able to put better than 20,000 people back to work now, and with collateral jobs up to 100,000 Americans. We have those opportunities as well in the 3rd Congressional District. When we're looking at the price of a gallon of gasoline under this president's policies, we've seen them go up better than 156%. The cost of domestic crude has gone up 176%. These are all impacts on the American consumer. As I talk to senior citizens that are on fixed incomes, they're worried about being able to pay for that electric bill. They're worried about how many gallons of gasoline they can afford to be able to put in their car and still be able to get down to the local drugstore to be able to pick up prescriptions. I'm talking to moms that are trying to be able to get their children to school. These are all costs that we're going to be able to impact if we're willing to unleash that American entrepreneurial spirit, to be able to put our people back to work. So it is about jobs, it is about the economy, and it is about the American future. You know, we currently have a $15.8 trillion debt in this nation. When I was first elected to office, every man, woman, and child owed a little better than $45,000. Today, that number is $50,000 plus and growing daily. Looking out for our children, looking out for their future. We have to be responsible with the dollars that come to Washington, reduce the size of government, and unleash that American creativity, that American entrepreneurship, to be able to get the American economy moving again, so that our children can inherit what many of us believe was an American birthright, to be able to live out that American dream. We have that within our grasp. Many of the pieces of legislation that we have put through the House of Representatives have passed with bipartisan support. We call on our Senate colleagues to join us in this effort to stand up for America, to be able to put Americans back to work, and to take this legislation up. We have a lot of uncertainty coming. The potential highest tax increase in American history will come January 1st if Congress fails to act. That means we need the Senate's support to be able to seek American solutions for American challenges. I'm going to be continuing to dedicate myself to those very causes of getting our people back to work, getting this economy moving, standing up for our senior citizens, standing up for our veterans. And we appreciate your input coming into our office. It's important because this is an American challenge.